Well, let's start with this. What led you to decide we want to go on Shark Tank?
Sure, yeah. So we actually applied in January of 2016. We flew up to San Francisco, stood in line with about 5,000 companies, and you get a minute to pitch your company. And they're like, we like it, we'll call you back in 2 months. So Alec and I were like, okay, we probably won't get called back. But the reason why I went on the show was people have always been like, why don't you guys apply for Shark Tank? It'd be great for your company. And then we're just like, yeah, well, why not? There's no harm in trying. So, yeah, we applied.
So it was a kind of a referral thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also a big Shark Tank fan too. I love watching it.
That 1 minute pitch must have been something special. What was the strategy for that elevator pitch?
We kind of just told a story, and the lady asked us 2 questions, and then she's like, oh, my son's name is Alec. She's like, oh, I remember you guys. So I think that's kind of why we got on.
We have we especially in academia, the entrepreneurs don't necessarily want to hear this, but there's a big part of being an entrepreneur that's luck. That's just in the trying and being in the right place at the right time. So
yeah, ours was definitely luck.
Yeah.
Definitely luck.
But it's kind of luck that you make, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think ours is just because of failures that we've been able to get on the Shark Tank. Probably a terrible pitch, truthfully, and that's probably why they wanted us.
So tell us a little bit about what that day is like. So is it 1 day of filming? Do you show up really, and are you there for a while, or?
So they actually called us. So it's in Culver City at the Sony Studios, and they get all the entrepreneurs together, and they give you, like, say you're going to be here. You get there at 7 in the morning, and it goes probably until 11 at night, and they have probably 10 different companies. And one thing that's kind of crazy is that they cut it to about 5 minutes, but the actual time in the tank with the sharks goes for about an hour and a half for each company. So we were there for a few days that we didn't even get on the show because some companies might have went 2 hours, or it just depends. So then they kept calling. They would call you back the next day and the next day until it was like your turn. And by the end of it, we were just like, just whatever happens, just put us on the show now.
Well, especially when you got a business to run.
Yeah.
Spending that much time in a waiting room is a challenge.
Yeah, we were there for 2 days for 8 hours, and then at the end they're like, we don't have time for you guys, go home. And then the third day they're like, come back, and we're like, if we're gonna come back, it was our sister's wedding, and we're like, we're gonna go around the beginning, and they're like, all right, so we got to pitch the third day. But that third day it was very stressful being there for 3 days straight.
Okay, so let's go to the clip that we just saw. So I'm sure the question that everybody wants to ask is, Eric, how many push-ups can you do?
I can do a lot.
A lot. which was a great opening. I think it got everybody's attention right away. So the pitch starts, and again, it's hard for us to gauge the hour and a half, but what we saw on screen, the pitch starts and we go right to what the company is, how it works, what your value proposition is. How well do you feel you nailed that?
What was interesting was you see the stage for like a minute before you go on, and you don't see any of the sharks until that moment. So what was really interesting though, as soon as we started, my mic actually fell, so they had to stop filming altogether. So they had everyone come in, try to put the mics back on us, and then they were like, action, and everyone was just like, we have to start again right now with, and so we had lost all momentum. So it was like a really hard part at the beginning.
Well, basically, you do the pitch, and then right after you finish, you pass all the products, and they just start nailing you with questions. And we were there for an hour and a half or so.
So the strategy to hand out the products, let's talk about that. How do you think that benefited you or hurt you?
So it definitely was, when we were in the tank, it was good because we passed out the products, and they felt them, they're like, hey, it's actually a really good quality product. Like, you wouldn't think that because it's from a billboard, but the edit didn't have them say any of that, which is the only thing that Mark said was, when you feel the bag, it feels different. So that kind of hurt us, which is a bummer. So they cut out a lot of pieces, which would have been good for us. Like, ours was actually very fun, energetic. Like, I almost took my shirt off for Barbara when she went out. But like they don't.
That sounded weird. He didn't really,
Barbara went out, and I told her, I was like, if you come back in, I'll take my shirt off for you. But it was like really fun, and they just made ours very dramatic.
Actually, that raises a question that still
like
bugs
the Tooley
me
brother
to this day. Where was Damon? Because it would seem to me that of all the sharks who might get what you do exactly, because what you do is about a superior product and brand, that Damon would get that. So what happened to him?
The way it works is that he was on the day before, I think, and then based on all their schedules, it like depends who's there that day, because they film for like 2 weeks straight through the weekends, and same with all the. So it's kind of by luck which sharks are there during your day.
Cool. Okay, so let's go back to the pitch. I'm going to ask a few more of these, then we'll open it up. So let's go. So you do your pitch, value proposition, question, then the dreaded exit starts to happen. So first, who goes out? Who goes out first? Barbara goes out first. Was it
Barbara. Yep.
And why did she bail?
You know what?
I don't remember.
Barbara went out because of the equity that Alec and I have in the
Yeah.
company still. So we have previous investors, and we own around 40%, and she thought we don't have enough of the company.
Yeah.
That's why she went out.
So now that you have all the time in the world, how would you respond to Barbara's objection?
So on the show, you actually do respond to every
Okay.
reason why they go out, but they don't put any of that in there.
Okay.
I think Alec
But I
responded.
think, originally they'd asked what we had, prior, just so you guys give some background, prior to starting Rareform, even before Eric had come on board, I had raised, I think it was $200,000, and it was for 35% of the company at the time. So at the time, I was starting the brand, and I needed the capital, and it wasn't one of those things where it wasn't an amount that I could raise from family or friends. And that was, I wouldn't regret that, what I have now, because we wouldn't have gotten to if we didn't have that amount of capital. But yeah, it did, obviously affect us in Shark Tank, so.
There's a part of the show that has to do with doing the math, because all those numbers start flying, and regardless of how well you think you know the numbers, it can be imposing.
Yeah.
We played your clip in class, too, for my entrepreneurship class, and we talked about that. The fact of the matter is, if you exit someday and you sell the company for hundreds of millions of dollars, the difference in percentages is kind of like between, well, did you get $50 million or did you get $20 million? You might be disappointed that you didn't get the other 30, but 20 is okay.
It's
Or
true.
more.
Yeah.
Okay, so Barbara goes out, then Mark goes out. Doesn't scale.
Mark's reason for going out was one that we still get a lot, and that is, like, how would you tell, because our big play has always been in the retail side of things. Right now, we're in probably 300 or so, like, accounts throughout the country. So that's, mom and pop stores to, Whole Foods, Patagonia, some of the bigger players, Best Buy that we're in. But it's always our biggest thing, and our biggest problem we have is how do we tell the story to somebody that sees a red bag or a blue bag, and they don't know that, hey, this came from a billboard along the 405 freeway. And that was why he came out. He said, how are we going to scale telling the story?
Yeah.
But that's what we saw as like a benefit to our brand, truthfully, is the fact that it is a story-driven brand. And people see it and they know, hey, it's different. Why is it different? And then they would ask a salesperson, hey, why does this look like this? Or so.
And then Lori goes.
Yeah, Lori has no idea what she's doing. Lori went out because she was saying that, she's like, I like the aspect. No, she's like, I don't like that each one is different. She's like, if I like that blue bag you have, I want that same one over and over. Which is, it's a point for her because she wants to be on QVC, which is fine. But the cool thing about Rareform is that they all are unique and one of a kind. But the thing is when you see a bag you like, it creates a sense of urgency that if you like it, you got to buy it right then. That's what we did say on the show, but they obviously didn't put it in.
I got a funny story, though. We just did get an order for QVC.
It's true.
So one of the things, we just got an order for QVC that's going to be coming out before Christmas, and it was one of the things that we don't say is from one billboard we can get 200 bags. So if we have, let's just say they want to buy $100,000 worth of product, it would only take a few billboards of that one exact billboard. We can repeat it. In essence, because most advertisers, let's say it's Coca-Cola, they have certain style and they're going to have 50 of that billboard, which would equate to, let's say, $500,000 worth of product. So it's something that we've been able to do is say, hey, what color would you guys like? And then we can find that. I don't know if that made any sense. Does that make sense to anybody?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, but this is also an example of when you're pitching to investors, sometimes the investor just doesn't get it. And it by no fault of their own. Lori's had a pretty good career selling millions and millions of the same thing.
Yeah, I wish I did that.
Yeah. Okay, so that leaves us with Robert. I had no idea what he was talking about.
I think they actually made up why he went out, because that's not why he went out. He went out because he said he used to be part of he invested in a surf company before, and it failed miserably, he said. But they didn't say that either. So I actually don't know what they put on there. I don't really know
It was
what
something about licensing. I think he wanted you to license the brands on the billboards.
Yeah.
Branded bags that just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, it didn't make sense.
Which is also another. I'm an angel investor too, and I get to say no a lot. And sometimes when you don't have a really good reason, you just want to say no. You come up with something that sounds really complicated but doesn't mean anything. And I think that's probably what happened there.
Yeah.
So then you're left with Mr. Wonderful himself. So before we go on to Kevin, let's talk about the valuation, because that seems to be where there was the most discussion and the most back and forth.
Yeah. The valuation for us, I mean, that what was it? 10 months ago or a year ago, we had done 800,000 in that year, in that 12-month period. And for us, we said, hey, it's a 3x multiple off top-line sales, which we thought was, for a growing business, pretty relevant. Because most apparel or fashion brands are usually between a 2 to 5x top line. And because we were investing 100% of whatever we were making back into inventory. So for us, it seemed like a doable valuation, but obviously, we're not the shark, so.
It's not unusual for investors to look at a valuation as 1x,
Totally.
period, exclamation point,
Yeah.
which is exactly what they did.
Yeah. So.
Because even when Kevin came back later and told you what he thought the company was valued at, it was about trailing 12-month sales. Okay. So Kevin comes up with this offer. I couldn't watch Shark Tank when it started, because they just obviously were there to argue and didn't know very much about angel investing. And now I marvel at the terms they come up with, because I never would have thought of them in a million years. So Kevin comes up with this, well, I'll loan you the money, and I want it back, but I want 10% of the company.
I thought it was genius. I would have done the same thing. I would have asked for the same thing, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, at least and for us, the reason it worked out, we kind of knew going in that what we wanted. And we knew the number one thing we wanted was to be on the show no matter what, because we couldn't afford the eyeballs to get the national presence and the marketing from it. And so I think when he said, whatever, it was 300,000, we knew that we had tried to get a loan from the SBA because we didn't want to keep going and raising more money for more inventory. We wanted to get like a factor loan. And we needed to show profitability for 2 years, and it was going to take too long for the SBA. So we said, hey, we knew going in that we would take a loan for that amount of money. And what they didn't show was that we had just raised we had raised 500,000 in a round, this most recent round, and we had saved 300,000, whether it was going to be a loan or, in that equity space. So we had that open. So.
Yeah, a part of Shark Tank that I don't particularly care for is after it's down to one and someone makes a deal, then the rest of them pile on and say, don't do it, don't do it.
Yeah.
Were they serious about that, or did it just feel like that was part of it?
I think I blacked out.
So let's go back to the numbers. So the deal was 300,000, right? And your margins are about 75%, give or take, I think, based on the numbers for retail you gave. Okay, so that means 25% is your cost of goods sold. So you take that 300,000, you multiply by 4, so $1.2 million in sales.
Yep.
You got $1.2 million in sales. Add it to your 700, you're around $2 million in sales, which if you can find an investor who knows the market, you can get, what is it, 2x to 7x sales?
Yeah.
Then you've got your valuation.
Yeah.
That sounds like a pretty good deal to me.
Yeah. I think going on to the show, we had talked with a few other people prior, and they had told us, hey, if you have the opportunity to pitch in front of them, which we finally got to that last stage, they said, that weekend of the show, that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you guys will be able to make up between $100,000 to $500,000 in sales just in online. And so we kind of figured, okay, if we can do that and we can pay them back within those few days, then the rest is kind of, in essence, gravy for us.
Well, the thing is even if you film on the show, it doesn't mean you're going to air. So kind of our producers told us, like, no matter what you do, try to get a deal on the show, because then they'll for sure air you. So that's kind of what we were told. We're like, hey, no matter what, let's try to get the deal done, so we can just be on the show.
Okay, so you got your deal.
We got the
Hugs
deal.
all around. Leave the tank. So then what happened?
Partied our face.
And then we said we wanted to party with them.
No, it's joking.
Yeah. So after we got the deal, Alec and I said we wanted to party with Mr. Wonderful and rub his bald head, which we have not been able to do yet.
Yeah. The
What happened after?
Oh, one of the things though that was really interesting, I was on the show, is they didn't say is, and we've heard it before, is that we had recently, and we still do, we make products for Disney, and we sell them into Disney stores, and for Coca-Cola now through licensing. And one of the things that they didn't put in there was Kevin O'Leary had said, hey, if you guys actually do sell to Disney, like you say you do, and we're like, why would we make that up? You can easily find that out. Then I'll give you in essence what we were asking for, like a better deal. So we ended up getting a better deal because they ended up looking at our books and being like, oh shit, this makes, sorry, I cussed on this thing. So, yeah. So we ended up getting a better deal after the show, which was great for us.
Oh, nice. So is the deal done?
Deal's done.
Wow, that was fast.
Well, no. So we filmed in June of 2016, and the deal didn't close until February of 2017.
Jeez.
So once it closed, then they gave us, they're like, okay, now you're going to air in 3 weeks, which was on March 3rd, about 2 months ago.
Wow. So you had to.
So we aired over a year ago. Or we
filmed.
We filmed over a
Almost
year ago and aired,
Oh my goodness.
It's a long process, yeah.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So who's got questions? I'm sure you have more questions. You sir, right there.
4 years ago, I tried to buy billboards specific down in Florida. Decorations and other things. They said we don't only get copyright, we can't sell it. How do you get around who owns the image and the copyright issues?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So did you guys all hear the question? Oh, the question was, how do we get around the copyright issues that are on the billboard themselves, and how do we get them from the outdoor advertising companies? So we actually have, now we have contracts with 3 of the largest outdoor advertising companies, and the way we worked in our contract is that we don't have rights to any of those logos and those marks, but we have, they have the rights to either the company that posted the billboard either can use that billboard, or let's just say McDonald's can take that billboard back. And once it goes to the waste, they still own those rights, but we don't use any of those in our products itself. So if you were to look at our products, you don't have any recognizable faces, names, logos, anything that is, marketable to somebody else.
I watched the episode and my wife and I were totally looking for you.
My man.
I have 2 questions. One is a Shark Tank fan. How was it like working with Kevin? Because it comes across as a hard ass, but it seems like you must be good with the company. Right? So how is that? And then the other question is, more as an entrepreneur myself, e-commerce versus retail. It almost seems like in your type of business, retail must be good. How do you decide like whether you want to focus more on e-commerce or retail? What's the sort of passion?
Yeah. So actually going on to the show, we wanted to make a deal with Kevin. We'd spoken to a lot of companies before going on the show, and they said that Kevin was actually the most hands-on of all the investors, and he was the greatest one to deal with and actually get in contact with. Since the show has aired, we've talked to him twice, but basically, like, whenever we need him, we can reach out. So it's more like on us, hey, if we need help, Mr. Wonderful, can we, we'll email, call him. So it's been good so far. And he actually is a very nice guy. You want to do what was the other question?
Oh, retail versus e-commerce, right? For us, Eric and I like to sell. So even when we started Rareform, we knew that e-commerce for us was going to be more of a brand play. It's a longer term play. And we thought the quickest way for us to get sales was to knock on doors. It's simple. So we just knew that we didn't have a problem, getting told no, and we would call on whoever. So that was the easiest way for us to get sales. Was originally going to retail. We figured we could grow the base account, and then because we're trying to create a niche within an already, in in a market of itself, like the bag category. We thought we would, being a brand play, meaning like it's going to take a little longer, it's not a product in essence, that it would kind of grow on its own, the e-commerce play. I hope that helps.
What were your sales after?
Basically, within the first 3 hours, we had beaten the last 2 months online. And within the first 4 days, we've beaten all last year's online sales.
Yeah.
Within the last, so after we aired on the Friday, by that Tuesday, those 4 days, we'd beaten all last year's online sales. Well, we not a million, but that was so. This was just online. Yeah.
All over, but the majority of them are still from Southern California.
We can get them from all over the country, but right now there's so much in LA. We only take them from LA, just because it's cheaper to ship them from LA to.
If we grow, though, we have the opportunity, you know, to take that.
I don't know if you can tell us, but what is the fabric of the billboard, and is it hard to mold and shape?
We actually have some bags in the back that we can pass around. You guys can feel them. Yeah, so Alec.
Oh, it's a heavy-duty vinyl material. So billboards aren't made of paper. Most people think they're made of paper, but it's actually made of a really heavy-duty, durable, waterproof vinyl material. So you'll see it. No, the majority. I mean, think of it as a heavy-duty tarp. It's not that. They can feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys can pass them around.
But it's a heavy-duty tarp, and it is a little more difficult to work with. But that also is what most people don't want to, you know, do what we do. I guess that's kind of our competitive advantage. How many people want to, you know, work with trash? I guess.
Yeah.
Presumably, you guys have exposure, maybe some competitors at some point, maybe not, I don't know, but assuming you've run this for a while, and you stop possibly moving to different cities, what's next in terms of product or service?
So basically, we actually have a patent on the material. I mean, on like combining our billboard material with a virgin material, it's called. But basically, we're just going to keep growing the brand. You know, we've only been in business now for 4 years, so we are growing retail, e-commerce. So we have about 8 distributors, international distributors. But the biggest way we're going to grow, is corporate. What?
Go ahead.
What do you mean?
Sorry, guys, I interrupted. Go ahead.
Brothers. You can take it. Yeah. Does that answer it?
I'm going to reply on that one too. But what he is saying is the corporate side of our business has grown to be pretty significant. So meaning corporations now come to us and will say, hey, we just spent, you know, X amount of money doing an outdoor advertising campaign. Can you guys turn it into products for us, for our employees, for our vendors? So
done that with Disney. We're doing Dell right now, waste management.
Yeah, it's a pretty big piece of our business that we've, you know, expanded into. It's a totally new vertical. And the other big piece for us is the licensing. So we're working with like the studios for, you know, the majority of billboards in the greater LA area might be movie studios. So let's say a Batman, you know, billboard goes up. We then have the opportunity to sell that and things of that nature. So licensing.
Where are your products manufactured? Here in the United States, overseas? And how many manufacturers do you have?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
So we used to make everything in Ventura County, and then we moved it to Mexico, and we also do manufacturing in China as well. So we use all 3 still. But we're based in Agora Hills, and that's where we get all the material. We sort everything there, cut each piece, and clean each piece, and then we ship those cut pieces to either Mexico or China or Ventura County, or Somas. We're in Somas.
So it was 7 months between the time you did the deal and it closed. Is that right?
Yep.
So what type of due diligence? Did they do diligence right afterwards and it just took a long time to close? Or were they doing due diligence all that time? What actually happened?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it kind of goes in cycles because they're working on so many. They have they have a lot of other companies and they have teams that kind of work with it on the due diligence. So a lot of it would be I mean, if anybody's worked on deal, it's just getting people to look at a paper or gets, a vendor to look at something. So it wasn't all 7 months. It might have been, condense it down probably to about a month worth of time. But at the same time, we're running a business, they're running a business. It's kind of put on hold because there's a lag between when you actually film and when the show starts again. So I think there's a lag in between time. But truthfully, that allowed us also to grow our business on our own within that 7-month period that allowed us to get a better deal when it was all said and done.
Since those signs are the raw materials, so to speak, do you get those signs still for free, and how high is the risk that eventually someone will have the idea that they have to buy them?
So that's a good question. So we do get the material for free, but we have contracts with outdoor marketing companies. For 2 of them are for the next 5 years, one's for the next 10 years. So we're not really worried about them charging us for the material. Also, it's kind of a big PR play on their aspect, where they're telling all their clients, hey, your material's not just getting thrown away and thrown in the landfills. We're upcycling it with this company, Rareform.
But, it's definitely still could be purchased if somebody's willing to pay something, and you find out. For us right now, at that point, there's still so much material. So if somebody did want to come in, in essence, we take such a small piece of what is out there in general that I don't even know if I was coming up with an answer for that. That I think when if it was all said and done, we could pay for the material. I think that's kind of what I was going to say, because we do have a value in it. But right now, just the exchange of money between the two of us is more seen as a partnership rather than a business between the two.
Is there anything you would do differently?
Oh, yeah.
I'll start with the things that we shouldn't have done, because that list would go on forever. I would say originally when we had started the business, I was working in finance, and then I was working in marketing, and I decided to quit my job 2 weeks before I got married, so it probably wasn't the best idea. And then I would say also starting a business by yourself is really difficult. And you have to, the highs and lows of anybody else that started a business is one day you're on a great high and you got a sale, the next day you're in the gutter. So I wish I would have started with my brother at the very beginning, because I feel like we would have gone a lot faster. So having the right partners, I think, are really one of the biggest things to being, having the momentum to keep moving forward. So that would be probably some of the biggest, but I have a ton more, some really bad decisions if you want to hear them later. And then the other question was most challenging.
The question was most challenging?
Oh, John.
Oh, the journey. So you kind of answered that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. What's challenging for you? I think I'll give you one thing about our business is really challenging is the logistics side of our business. Most people don't understand. Is if we were coming out with like a backpack in general, just a black backpack with a new design, it would be, we order it from China, we order 10,000 pieces, it comes in, and we try to sell it. Our piece is a little different because we had to try to find partners and for them to buy into the relationship, one. Two, we have to work with logistics, and we do a ton of freight, bringing products, raw material into us, cutting that material in the US, shipping product out, and then shipping product back in. So there's a lot that goes into the import-export of the business, one, and then there's time lags in between purchase orders and when a product gets, to market. So that's one thing we had to work with, and that's one reason why we also had to go, look for new manufacturing, because of manufacturing times takes a lot more for our business.
So we sell in about 350 retailers in the U.S. Actually, we're not in any larger chain stores at all.
The larger chains that we are in is like a Journeys, or we're in like Journeys, Whole Foods, Quicksilver stores. So I mean, there are like in that 350, they might have 50 stores. We're just saying accounts. Yeah.
Do you guys ever want to open your own retail store?
I think so.
We've thought about it. Yeah.
No, I'm all about it.
Yeah.
You want to do it?
First and foremost, well done, guys. Congratulations. I love the energy. I love the way you complete each other's sentences. I can see this, the way you guys work together. It's great. I just like the way you guys did it. And if you guys still answer the questions. Well done. And you guys make us proud. The question I have is with regards to the Shark Tank effect. How long did that last? So that's the first question. Is it a week? Is it a two? And what happens after that? And the second question is, myself, is the exit strategy to take out not only Kevin but other people. Because ultimately, at some stage, you want to realize all the hard work you've done. So if you could just talk about the Shark Tank effect, how long that last, and if you guys thought about when you do these transactions, what would the ultimate exit strategy? Thank you.
Thanks. So the Shark Tank effect is actually still current today. We aired about 2 months ago, and we're still doing around 7x each day what we used to do. So then hopefully it lasts for a long time. Yeah.
And the other question, exit strategy, sorry. An exit strategy for us is one that, I mean, when we were first pitching, I remember in the very beginning, like, oh, what's my exit strategy? And we'd get investors. And I would say, I don't really have one. Or we'd say, oh, it's going to be a 2x, 3x your money. It'll be in, 3 to 5 years. But I think the truth of it is, I think what we've told our investors, and they're on the same page as that we are, is we would love to pay out a cash dividend on a quarterly basis. So for us, ours is a little bit different. We like our business. We're not looking to exit the business, on a one-time. Because even still, it's taken us 4 years to grow the business now. And if we have it for another 5 years, it's, I wouldn't see us trying to exit the business necessarily. I would like to stay in it, especially if it's like it is, now in general. We could pay back investors through cash flow. But that's different from, a lot of different businesses. So that's just our personal strategy. Yeah. Yep.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah.
There we go.
Like it. Yeah, so the company he's talking about, there's a company based in Switzerland called Freitag. Has anybody heard of them? So Switzerland, they've been around for it's run by two brothers too. They're a little older, but they've probably been around for 20-something years. They do probably an annual business right around $50 million in business in general. But instead of using billboards, they use truck tarps. In Europe, we don't have, in Europe they don't use a lot of, I'm guessing a lot of you guys, like hard-covered semi-trucks, they use tarps along the sides. And they take those tarps and turn them into products. So for us, I didn't know about Freitag actually at the time when we first came up with the business because I was living in El Salvador. But then when I came back, people had said, hey, well, you should check out this company that's doing something. And it's definitely been one that we've looked at for inspiration, I would say. It would be like somebody starting a hat company. You try to see somebody that's doing something really well and try to replicate something that's working for them or not working for them. For us, they did try to come to the U.S. A few years ago, like in general, by opening stores in Manhattan. The problem was for them, and we used a similar PR firm, so we know, and we're kind of friends with people, is that price point-wise, it didn't work in the U.S. A backpack for them goes for $350. A backpack for us goes for $80. So we're definitely more accessible to what people in the U.S. want to pay, and people in the U.S. know what a billboard is in general, like an advertisement, but we don't know what a truck tarp is because we don't have that type of semi here. So I hope that helps answer it. Yeah.
One more question. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I was wondering, what advice would you give the aspiring entrepreneurs here in terms of getting on Shark Tank? One or two, three
Yeah.
experiences to get deals for a couple of nuggets. Not a lot.
I got you. I heard you. Yeah, we can repeat the question.
One or two nuggets. What would you advise?
I'm getting on Shark Tank.
Advise on getting on Shark Tank or just in general?
Getting on Shark Tank.
Getting on Shark Tank? Kind of like Mike said, it was a lot of luck. But the thing is we have a good story to tell. It's a pretty easy story. So getting on Shark Tank is, if you have a good story behind your company, that definitely is easier. But probably, advice would be, good luck. I don't know. No.
Yeah.
It's no, not to be rude. Sorry. I think they have about 40,000 companies apply, and we're one in 125 companies that make it. It's not like, even if you know someone who's part of the show, it's not going to help you. They kind of just have to.
I think it would actually hurt you because they made us sign so many paperwork to be like, did you know somebody that has been on Shark Tank? And they spent so much time on legal with us that it was one of those, have you ever met somebody that's been on Shark? No offense, you guys won't be in trouble for that. But, in essence, like, do you have an in to the show? And they would try to make sure that you never had any in to anybody on the network, on the studio, or, you had received a contact from somebody. So it's definitely one, in terms of getting on the show, it would be luck. And I don't know, for us, it was a God thing, I guess. That's helped our business.
And I get the last question. Where'd you go to high school?
OC, baby.
Oaks Christian.
Yeah.
And where'd you go to college?
Westmont College,
So
Santa Barbara.
not Cal Lutheran, but
Yeah.
wouldn't that be a liberal arts
Liberal arts, yeah.
university? So that's two. It could be better if it was Cal Lutheran. but Westmont.
Yeah.
What did you major in there?
We both actually majored in economics and business and Spanish. So. Yeah, so.
Let's give